And I live by this too, right? It's like, I don't need to know your name to know your pain. I have my own. And I don't need to know your home to know your shame. I have my own. But somebody loved me just the way I was, right where I was, and you are loved just the way you are, right where you are.
What if you could get into the real estate industry and just never have to be a salesy salesman? That's exactly what this agent who I got a chance to interview and share his story with is all about. Now, Nevin Alexander, he is one of our partners up in Minnesota. And when I had a conversation with him the other day, I asked him, I said, what is your superpower as an agent? And he said flat out, he said, I was able to tap into my ability to love on people at a high level, and that served me since. And so I'm just really excited to share this interview here with Nevin, who is like the epitome of contribution and caring and heart. You've got a passion for helping people. If you got a passion for loving on people and you got a background in that, you can absolutely put that into play and have a successful career in real estate. So check it out.
Right? Because it's like, I really just want to hang out with you. But I know I need to tell you what I'm doing somehow, but I don't know how to tell you it without it sounding really weak or weird, because it's like, I'm so desperate that like, hey, if you're not going to make a move, Matt, I need you to connect me with somebody like now, and I didn't know how to do that authentically. So like, I think my internal emotional wrestling with all of this was so strong that it was hard for me to have conversations with anybody I knew.
All right, guys, I am super thrilled to introduce you to my buddy, Nevin Alexander, who, I've had the pleasure to meet through this group, right? Like the relationships that this company and this group in particular have afforded me in my business have been some of the most rewarding in the 13 years that I've been in real estate. And so I don't take that lightly. And I love the opportunity to share cool people with you guys, and Nevin's one of those guys. And every time, I tell you what, Nevin's the real deal, and here's how I can say that, right? Because he shows up, and like, I'll look down on my phone, and it'll be a call, and I answer, and Nevin's like, hey, what's up? How are you? Like, I love the call. How can I help? How can I support? And I'm like, that's it, brother. Like, that you're showing up that way. Right? And then I'll put something out on the Game Changers page about something. And everyone's like, hey, I'm working on that too. And I'm like, great, let's get together. Let's talk about it. And so he's always first to show up. He's always first to be willing to contribute. And today I'd love to allow Nevin the opportunity to kind of talk about how he's used that way of being to build a business and build an organization. And so, Nevin, some of you are met Nevin, and some of you have never met Nevin. So, Nevin, say hi.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having. A little congested today. Good old allergies, all the wonderful things in the world, right? But no, I'm super grateful to be here. Thank you for doing this, Matt. Thank you for taking time out of your literally like 3 days a week to show up and do this for all of us and just pour into us. I really appreciate it, right? Because like, every one of us get into real estate because we all wanted to make some money, most likely, right? And then the flexibility and being able to have a little bit of impact in people's lives, some kind of combination, but it's tough. And even right now in this current market, it can be really hard for a lot of us. And like, you're offering an incredible solution for it and giving us really, a great platform to learn from and be motivated to actually take actionable steps that are practical and very clear. So thank you, Matt. Thank you for pouring into us. Thank you for hosting this. Thank you for doing this just almost religiously, like committed to it every single Wednesday, Friday. So I just wanted to give you that shout out. So thanks.
Well, we're done. Thanks. All right. Nice talking to you guys. All right. Peace. So thanks for that. And I share it. Look, listen, if this isn't I know it seems, I get more out of this, I think, than you guys do sometimes. So that's why I do it. Right? Like it helps me continue to push and level up. And I love sharing the things that I learn, and we all get better together. Like, I couldn't do this without you guys. And so anyway, I appreciate that. Thank you. So fill everybody, so how did you even get into real estate? How did you find real estate? What did you do before? And kind of like, what brought you up through this path?
Yeah, absolutely. So before I got into real estate, quick journey recap. Hold on. Again, just congestion. The more I talk, the more it's going to happen, right? But was my wife and I, our kids, we were missionaries down in Costa Rica. We worked in the capital down there in the outskirts, and we did a lot of programs for 5th and 6th grade boys and girls, right? And also worked with some of the universities out there. But the biggest thing was helping teach kids just practical skills, because once they got out of 6th grade, they were able to, they didn't have to go to school anymore. So a lot of them just worked or got caught up in something or another. So we were there to help create a supportive community and a safe environment, right? So that's kind of what I did, and we did. And then we moved back from that. We were there for a while, right? We moved back. And then within 4 to 6 months of us getting back to the States, COVID happened and shut everything down. So I was super desperate for money at that time, because I didn't have a job that afforded me unemployment or any of those cool benefits that came along with it. And so I was stressed, like unbelievably stressed. We ended up moving in with my mother-in-law. We borrowed people's cars because it's all happened so fast for us. Wow. And like, I mean, I didn't even, so we borrowed my Sage's uncle's car, and then someone from our church let us borrow their car. And then they ended up, like, that's just what we did for almost 8 months straight, 9 months straight. We were borrowing people's cars, getting around, doing it. And then COVID happened. The only places really hiring at the time were a couple government jobs, trucking jobs, and then real estate up here in Minnesota. So I was like, I was trying to get anybody in real estate to hire me to create video content for them. Just be a content creator. I would film and edit. I could do that all day. I used to do that and freelance that in the past, right? And I worked with a lot of different real estate agents before we became missionaries. And because my wife was in real estate for a season. But no one wanted to hire us. So my wife convinced me to take the exam, get my license, and go join. So did all that, went to go join, got into real estate, partnered with Blake and Joe and Joey, and they were my first experience in real estate on the sales transaction side. And then I dove in because I was desperate to make money. So I just did everything anybody said. And then through just continually showing up and giving and trying, like, I had the best business partners in the world. They gave me opportunity after opportunity, which honestly sustained my family for a good 1.5 years after all that. And then we slowly started to get traction and learn how to do this and create opportunity, and understood, like, oh, this is how this journey works. And so that's kind of what got me into it, was just sheer hunger to support my family, because I was a grown man who'd been married at that point for like 9 years, had 2 kids, and I lived with my mother-in-law. It was amazing. So 3 years, almost 3 years later, we moved out of our house. So it was.
You had all the reasons to make it work.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
talk about that first part, like coming into this. You had never done any kind of sales in the past, correct?
No sales. Like, I was a pastor and a missionary, right? So what we realize now at this point is pretty much, everything you do is sales to an extent, right? And even in the ministry and in the church environment, like, you're literally connecting with people to get to know them, build a relationship, and then in the church ministry environment, and hope to help impact them for eternity, right? Like, help love the unloved, hold the hurting, believe in those who no one ever believed in. And like, one of my good buddies, his name's Reggie, he had the saying that he always said, right? He's like, look, and I live by this too, right? He's like, I don't need to know your name to know your pain. I have my own. And I don't need to know your home to know your shame. I have my own. But somebody loved me just the way I was, right where I was, and you were loved just the way you are, right where you are. And so it's like kind of approaching every conversation and people with that in business. Now, it was hard for me to learn how to do that in business, right? Because in every aspect of my life for the last 15 years leading up to me making this transition into real estate, there was no like agenda to have financial gain from it. But once that became a part for me, like, that was a very hard transition for me to make mentally and emotionally. Because it's like always.
Talk a little bit more about that. Yeah, let's dive into that.
Yeah, because like, it's hard. And I still, 3 years later, a little over 3, I've been a licensed real estate agent for just over 3 years now. And I love it. I came into this thinking, hey, it'll be a quick hit until the world opens up and I can go get a real job. No joke. That's what I thought. Go get a real job. So as if this wasn't. And now I love this, and this is amazing. That piece where it was like talking to people, because I felt like I was so desperate for financial like support in the need there, that it was hard for me to have conversations without being married to the outcome, right? And just divorce, instead of divorcing the outcome, married the process. Like that's the saying we all say. I could say it day and night, but I will have a conversation. I guarantee I'm going to have a conversation, 1 to 2 conversations today, where I feel like the weight of the outcome is still super important to me, right? And that comes off. People feel it. I guarantee people feel it. So Josh, I will repeat that in just in a second. I saw that you said that. I'll type it out. But that outcome, like learning how to transition that was really tough, because like every conversation I had, I felt like I needed to talk about what I did, and I needed to help them go buy a house whether they needed it or not, you know. And I felt like this need that I need to push this out there, but then I had this like internal conflict, right? Because it's like, I really just want to hang out with you, but I know I need to tell you what I'm doing somehow, but I don't know how to tell you it without it sounding really weak or weird, you know, because it's like, I'm so desperate that like, hey, if you're not going to make a move, Matt, I need you to connect me with somebody like now, you know, like, and I didn't know how to do that authentically. So like, I think my internal emotional wrestling with all of this was so strong that it was hard for me to have conversations with anybody I knew. So I did 1 transaction within my sphere in 2 years. So everything else was just like, hey, door knocking, open houses, videos we made, opportunities passed on from other agents to include me in those transactions, to create video content for it, to promote it, you know, do that. And then, so that's how like all of that came. Like it was a tough thing, right?
So you're saying in the first 2 years, because of that internal struggle around being attached to a commission conversation, you kept your sphere at bay because you didn't want to poison that relationship with your need or lack. And you went after all the cold business in the world.
Yeah, I did. That's 100% it. Right?
So when did it flip for you? What was the breakthrough or the disconnect for you that freed you from attaching the commission to the conversation?
I think finally learning and understanding, being just time in the business for one, having enough conversations, and then realizing too is like, I think the need wasn't as strong either, right? The desperation to make the financial income, all of that wasn't as desperate in my life anymore, right? Because I started to get comfortable. I started to have things provided. Like we got our own place. I have a car now. Like we have all that. We actually have 2 cars, and we were able to give one of those cars away to somebody else who was in a similar situation, right? So we just gave him one of our cars, right? And it was all because of like this. And so like once that desperate, like do or die, and I was just like, everything was dying in my mind, right? Once that started to ease up and I started to feel that comfort and that success, like that started to relieve that pain to an extent, right? Of having those conversations with my sphere. And then the next part where that really got alleviated was like understanding like, oh, my people love me just the way I love them. And I don't feel like they're being pushy. So why do I automatically just put that on them and make up their mind for them that, hey, they're going to reject me because I'm bringing up what I do for work, right? And once I started to realize like, no, hey, I sincerely love these people and the people I get to meet in life, and they sincerely care for me as well, and they're not going to reject me. If they did, then it's just a matter of like, oh, whatever, let's go talk about something else now, right? And understanding how to move on. And it took me a minute to figure that out. But once I got it, it was good, you know? It's gotten a lot better.
Nice. Now, real quick, before we run out of time and forget, can you repeat that phrase that Reggie shared with you?
Yeah, absolutely. It says, here, I'll type it out too, but it said, or if you can, whoever out, Josh, if you can write it out for me. It says, I don't need to know your name to know your pain. I have my own. I don't need to know your home to know your shame. I have my own. But somebody loved me right where I was, just as I was, and you are loved right where you are, just as you are.
That's so cool. I've never heard that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that.
But yeah, had a big impact on my life, right? Like, it definitely helped shape how I care and view people and view things. And, you know, even whenever you start to forget stuff and that thought starts to slip you, once you remember it, you're like, no, you know what? This is more important than this. So
when I asked you and invited you on this call, and I asked you, you know, hey, what is your real estate superpower you'd like to share with everybody? You were very quick to tell me it's the way I love on people. Can you talk a little bit more about how you've been able to take that way of being and that natural ability to love on people and bring it into your business and in your world?
yeah, I think it's just the ability to just talk and have conversations, but actually want to help and I like try to support, you know. And it was on the transactional side of things, it was harder for me to do in the beginning because I was desperate. But part of that made me very smothering, and so I didn't miss a lot of opportunities if they were there, because I was just like, But it also was very off-putting, right? Like it'd be like, But I learned how to just like slow it down and love on people like I would, and just realize like, you know what, this isn't going anywhere. And my mind would start to shift and be like how it was when I was in the ministry, or when I'd meet my friends and hang out and just have a normal life, right? It was like being able just to connect again and become, hey, you know what, you're not buying anything, but I'll be your friend and like, let's get to know this. But I think I needed to learn how to do that. But a lot of people ended up in turn connecting with me back. And like, I've had people this year, we closed a handful of transactions that were people we met over a year and a half ago that, you know, really connected well with, and learning what their needs were and just consistently just kind of poking in and be like, yo, how's the kids, right? Are they coming over here yet, right? Or whatever it may be, like, hey, how's mom and dad? Because I knew they brought up those things, because like I am not very hesitant to be like, hey, whatever you need, let me know. Like if I can't help, I know somebody. And also because like, hey, I was in ministry for a long time. I do love the Lord still to this day. Like I will offer to pray with folks there and offer whatever support in a very non-offensive way. I'm like, hey, if it doesn't bother you or if it wouldn't offend you, can I pray with you over this? You know, I'm really connecting and loving on people, caring for their emotional needs as well, not just their practical physical needs. But that's more of just like how I enjoy life in general. So like I don't mind doing that, where some folks that's like a scary nightmare. Like for me, that's just like, hey, no, let's do this. So yeah.
So real quick, these final couple of minutes, if you could share one last thing, what are some of the ways that you have become purposefully authentic? What are your days look like? How do you stack up those genuine, authentic wins in your life and your business right now?
Yeah, is that I'm really trying to connect with people and being honest about my intentions, right? Because like I can't have a conversation with someone if I feel like I'm trying to get to an agenda that they're unaware of.
So what does that sound like, or what does that look like?
So if I'm, whether it's working with agents and building the rapport with them, or if it's building somebody who's like transactionally based, like if I'm calling someone on a transactional base or my sphere, I'll just call them and be like, hey, yo, like Lewis. I'll be like, Lewis, how's it been? Catch me up, whatever. Or even if I saw Lewis last night, I'd be like, Lewis, I was thinking since last night, I wanted to run something by you real quick. You got a second? You know, I wanted to run something about work by you real quick. You got a second? And then he'll say whatever. And then I'll be like, look, I heard you say X, Y, Z, and it made me think this last night. I just wanted to see like, hey, is there any way I could help you with your housing need right now? Or hey, do you know anybody? Because you're talking about, hey, you're in these groups, and I want to know, I love helping people. A lot of people feel stuck right now, and they shouldn't have to feel stuck. Like it shouldn't be that way. Look, bro, you know me. We're a professional team over here. We love helping people get into homes they thrive in. And I wanted to see like, hey, is there anybody you know in that group that I can help out? You know, or ask them and just let it be. Because like I just don't. Now it's just more of that conversation with people, and no matter how it goes, if it goes good, then sweet. We just the natural progression of a conversation. They're in a good mood, I'm in a good mood, and we're talking about it. If they say no, and they don't know anyone, they're off the hook. I'd be like, well, if you know anyone, will you connect me in the future, my man? And you'd be like, yeah. And then I'll immediately pivot and let them off the hook. Like, sweet. Well, hey, Luke, I remember you're talking about doing this later. You want to go? Are we still on for tomorrow to go hang out and play golf? Whatever, you know, or I'll ask about their kids. Like, right, if I was talking to Haley, I'd be like, all right, cool, thanks, Haley, love it. Hey, how's Elliot doing? You know, ask her about her kid, her husband, or any of them, right? Eric, what's Eric up to? Is he still building houses like crazy? You know, like I would just pivot into asking them about their family, change subject, let them off the hook. Because like I said earlier, it took me a minute to realize this, but our friends and family, they hate rejecting us probably more than we hate being rejected by them. So I had to learn how to.
That's a really, really good awareness there. That's really,
yeah. So I just let them off the hook and move forward, right? If it's talking to agents, same thing. Hey man, Colin, I saw you. It looked like I really want to get to know you. You seem impressive. I want to hear what's working in this market and honestly see if there's any way we can help contribute to you and talk about the potential of partnering up and maybe working together on some stuff, right? And they're like, hey, I'm not into it. I don't want to be with you guys. I'm happy where I'm at. Perfect. Love that. Stay where you are. No worries at all. I still want to get to know you, see what you're doing, and see if we can help contribute to what you're doing. Can we hang out? Right? And I'll just pivot to the next step. Right? I got my main agenda over with. And they said no to it. So I'm like, sweet, let's move to my second thing. Let me love on you. Let me care for you. Let's add as much value as we can over time and do this. Now, the reality is I'm a human being. I'm extremely emotional driven. So I have lived my life like a roller coaster over the last 3 to 4 years, and especially in this industry. So I crush this sometimes, and then I am the worst. And by the worst means, I just don't do it. It's not that I'm like scared or hesitant anymore. I just don't take action. So like, I know I could talk in this moment, like, hey dude, I'm just like, just taking off, cruising this ship, like no big deal. The reality is I am very human. I'm very emotionally driven, and my environment, like if my kids are upset, my wife's upset, anything like that, it affects me. My friends are upset, I'm unhappy. And it's been a very good, solid learning experience, an eye-opener for me to learn how to manage those things. But I know we're getting close to the top of the bottom of the hour, so.
Yeah. No, this has been fantastic. Like the last 5 minutes have been just bomb. So I'm gonna open this up. If anybody has more questions or wants to connect with Nevin, how can they best reach you? How can they best connect with you?
Just give me a call, right? 952-994-0166. Call me, Nevin. I'll talk to you.
We'll talk. We'll pray. We'll love on each other. Let's go.
Good. I'll do whatever I can. Nothing I've done is a secret. None of my success is a secret. None of the tools I use, like everything I use is literally taken from somebody.
Everything
most
is
likely
Google.
On this call. So.
Yeah, no. I so appreciate you. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. And so I'm gonna have this interview posted here next week. And so if anybody wants to, again, get more from Nevin, reach out to Nevin. Otherwise, we will see you guys Monday, same time, same channel. This was Your Conversation. Take care, guys.